Alright guys, so what we got here is we have the long sit down portion and the short sit down portion. We've got them clamped together here so that they're even on the front. I've cut pieces of 1 inch by 1.5 that we're going to put on either side of the joint, and then we're going to bolt it together through each one of these in 4 different bolts. This portion has warp to touch, so while it is even at the corners and the middle, the sit down portion, the short sit down portion, is actually bowed up. So I'm going to try to see if I can pull a little bit of that out with this. I'm not, I remain skeptical that that's going to happen. But, you know, it's worth a try. Either way, I don't think it's going to be a problem in the long run, because the epoxy should cover most of that up or take care of most of that. Now I am going to pre-drill these because of the size of the wood. I'm afraid that if I don't, it'll split. So what I'm going to do is try, let me mark these where I want them to be at, because I'm going to put them in actually kind of close together at first. One.
Kyle's going to lead off jam session on his famous theme number, Flying Home.
Use 5/16 bolts to put it together with, so I'm going to go ahead and drill those holes out now as well. Let's see how this goes then. I don't know what I am. I don't know whether I'm worried or Alright, let's check that lip up underneath here. Actually, feels like it's gotten a little bit better, but it's still quite a ways off. Now, I can't think of a really good way to go ahead and try to get that lip out of there. I'd love to, but I I just can't figure it out. So I think it's just going to be the way it's going to be. So I'm going to do this on this section, and then I'm going to drill through the holes here once I get everything clamped and pushed to make sure that I got everything perfectly square and everything as good as I can get it. Then I'm going to drill through these holes that I did on this one into here, and then I'm going to bolt these two together. So I'll bring you back before we get that far. Alright guys, so we've attached the support board, we went and clamped it together to make sure it's as tight as it can be, and then gone and drilled this other side. Now, I don't know why 1/4 inch washers at Home Depot, when you get them in the bag, are slightly too small, but they are. They almost are the right size. So guys, I'm gonna have to go and take care of this, and I'll get back with you in a minute when we finalize putting this thing together. All right, so go ahead and drilled out these washers to make them work. Part of the reason why I wanted to use these specifically was because they were the right diameter. 5/16 fender washers are 1.5 inches, and I knew that I was most likely going to be drilling into an angle, and being able to get an 1.5 inch fender washer on this side was going to be probably not realistic. So it may actually prove to be unrealistic right now. You know, I don't think this is actually doing anything anymore. Guys, here's something I'm going to tell you right up front. This bench is going to be far from perfect. It's going to have its warts, and it's going to have its ugly spots. I'm trying to come to grips with that, because typically I don't come to grips with that very well. But if I did this the way I do, you know, working on my car or working on a gun or something like that, I would have torn all this all the way back apart again. I'm actually feeling right now that there's a lip right here on the edge. So that vise has a sticky spot. I don't know if you can see this, but right, yeah, there's a sticky spot in this mechanism right here, which was keeping this from actually being as tight as it could be. So not only do I have a bow in this, but I actually just put extra, and you can see it by looking at it, that this side is slightly down from there. I mean, that's just, that's enough to tear you up. Certainly enough to piss you off. Hold on. Alright, I got an idea. Let's try to help with this some, maybe. I don't know. Pull this off. Let's see if we can. You regular mechanics are out here judging me for using a crescent wrench. I agree with you. My current situation when it comes to my tools is a little bit suboptimal. All my tools are where my car's at, and my car's over at my dad's shop. So quite often when it comes to actually working on my car here at home or home projects, I'm stuck working with some suboptimal tools. But, you know, sometimes that's what you gotta do. Guys, so that's it. The main bench is actually put together now. I've still got a fair amount of work to do. You know, there's a triangular piece that I want to try to fit in here. I cut a piece to put in there, but it's really bigger than what I wanted it to be, and I'm questioning whether I need it. I might not actually use it at all. I'm also going to take these pieces and I'm going to run them around the perimeter of the bench to help with a little bit of mounting. Then I'm going to put I'm going to take and set the bench down on the floor with some padding up underneath there in some certain spots, some 1/4 inch thick shims of some kind, and then put the trim that goes on the outside all the way around this section, and then this top will be ready to be mounted and the frame built for it. So still a lot of steps left to go, guys. Alright guys, I want to bring you in. Gone ahead and cut 1 inch wide by 1.5 inch tall support braces here for the bench, and they've gone all the way around. All the way around. So what I'm going to use this for is to mount the trim board that's going to be on the front. Let's go all the way around this. So that's going to mount the trim board to it. I'm also going to use it for mounting kind of the framework too. Everything's bolted up tight. When I put some of this trim in here, or some of the, not trim, but some of these support boards, I was able to also pull things a little bit tighter and a little bit more level and even. So things are looking a lot better. As you can probably see, maybe, yeah, you can definitely see it. Some of that's optical illusion, but that corner is still up. And what I'm planning on doing is, when I build the frame, I'm going to brace that corner over there. I'm going to brace this corner here, this one here, brace all my corners, and then I'm going to find out just how low that piece is, and then I'm going to push it up using one of the frame boards. So I'm going to try to level that thing out like that. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm going to have to mess with it more the more I work on it. The other possibility, which depending on how this thing sits, and I've got to still do that, is that this side, right, that corner may be up. And if that's the case, then what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to brace everything else, and then take one of the frame boards and when I mount it to the floor, pull it down tight. So either way, I should be good, and I should be able to pull that out of there. Things are looking good, guys. I've run out of my 2.5-inch screws, so I can't really do more with this, and it's getting close to time to have dinner and then set up for the live stream tonight. It is Friday night. I don't know when this video is going to go live, but so I'm going to go ahead and put my tools away and get ready for dinner and stuff. So, all right, guys, thanks. All right, guys. So what we've gone and done is we've mounted the trim to the mounting boards. I leveled it, or I got the height that I wanted here, which was 30 inches, and then I leveled it out to that corner, and then I took the other board and I evened it in that corner, then leveled it, and then mounted it to the other, so that they're all, this whole corner should be level. Now the next step is going to be to lift this into place and to tack it in a few spots to the trim, or it'll go through through the mounting boards that are on the bench top, through the trim, and into the mounting boards that are behind it. That's the plan, and that'll make it pretty stiff. I had to do some notching. Let me show you here, and it's not the prettiest job in the world for this window sill here. I didn't want to cut the window sill away. I think that'll be fine. Most of the rigidity is going to come from, you know, the perimeter mounting, and then the mounting legs that are going to be in the front of the bench. So I think that's all I got to show you for now. I'm going to go ahead and figure out a way to get this thing mounted up into this corner and level, and I will get back to you once we get somewhere with that. All right, for you astute viewers that were witnessing me about to make a pretty big mistake. I had not stained the bottom side edge there, so you know how the bench is actually going to be about a 1/4 inch below the top of those trim boards. I would have had that big white unfinished line around there. As it is, it's not perfect because there is a little bit of poly on it and things like that, but I just put it on. I'm gonna wipe it off, and if I have to do 2-3 quick coatings to try to get it as close as I can, that's what I'm gonna do. And I hit the other pieces as well. So, unfortunately, with the other pieces, I haven't mounted them, so I'll have a little bit of a leeway as to which side I put up. So I'll put whichever side looks best. But yeah, almost made a mistake. Well, almost made another mistake, I guess is a better way to put that. But we're slowly kind of getting this thing in place here using a whole bunch of junk. I can lift it, of course. It's not that heavy, but the problem is being able to lift it and screw and everything all at the same time by myself. So I'm just using some buckets and things like that to try to get it up off the ground and make it a little bit easier. But shouldn't be too much longer, 15 minutes or whatever, and I'm gonna have to wipe all that stuff off, and then, so maximum delay, but it's getting there. All right, in an effort to not be half-ass, I tried to sand those spots where the poly had dripped, all right, so that it would take stain a little bit better. But of course, poly takes 72 hours to set up enough to sand, and it's only been about 24, so all it does is gum up the paper and doesn't actually get anything done. So I tried, I did my best, and then I'm restaining to put another application on, and then I'm going to wipe it off. I did the same thing with these other boards, and some of them look truly rough. Here's been my experience doing woodworking so far doing this, guys, is that everything takes 3 to 4 times longer than you think it should, because and you end up doing nothing 90% of the time. I've been into some woodworker shops, some like furniture builder shops, and I always wondered why they had 5,000 projects going at one time, and now I figure it out. It's because, oh, you stain this, and then you've got to let it sit for a month. And then you do this, and you got to let it sit for a week, and then you got to do this, and you let it sit, let it sit, let it sit, let it sit. It drives you berserk when you're used to metalwork. It's not that I'm super impatient. Like, I understand, you know, if I put on, you know, if I put on a little bit of plastic or whatever, I've got to let that sit. But you're getting towards the end. It's just everything seems that way with this. I don't know. Maybe I'm just bitching. In fact, well, wait a minute. Not maybe. I know I'm bitching. So anyway, guys, that's where we're at. I'm trying my best to do this, but at the same time, I am in a bit of a hurry. I want to get this thing mounted this weekend. I do not want to dick around with this all week. So if there's a little bit of spots in there that don't look 100% exactly like I'd like them to look, the hell with it. It's just going to have to work. So, all right. Next time I see you, I'll be putting the bench on. All right, guys. So we've staked that back corner. Let me take you off here and see if we can see exactly what I did. All right, I drove one right into that corner. I pushed it up tight up against this line, and I drove one right into that furthest corner, and then one a little bit further over. So this is being held up right now by 2 screws. I did measurement, and what's interesting is I got the exact amount of overhang on the trim boards when it sits dead level with the bottom rail. So that made it a little bit easy. I didn't have to worry too much. Now all we're going to do is we're going to work to make sure that we have this line level. Then we're going to come back and we're going to try to fix on this a little bit. You see where that's down quite a bit? So I'm going to lower this section down over here until this is right. Then I'm going to stake that, and then I'm going to basically push it up and get it level. As you can see, we have a little bit of stain problems. I'm not worrying about it because I just don't have the patience. In addition, here's my big mistake so far. Somehow or another, when I measured these, I thought I added 1.5 inches to the length, and I must not have. I must have added 3/4 of an inch because they're 3/4 of an inch short. I'm just going to make some filler pieces for it. I just don't have the patience right now to dick with it. So I'm going to continue mounting this and get it up. All right, guys, we're actually looking like we're starting to have a bench here. Gone and put one leg in to help pull it down in that center where it needed to be pulled down. I had a little bit of a gap issue on the back wall, not too bad. It took a little while to bring it in, but once I did, it's all right. I've got a little bit of a gap issue in between where the two benches meet. Once I put in the leg here, I'm going to evaluate it again. If it's still open, I'll just put a little bit of wood glue in there to kind of fill it up. Now here's something that's interesting. Remember how I said that I cut these back ones 3/4 of an inch short? All right. Well, these are fine. So I don't know. I have no idea what happened. Like, why is it that I cut those two short and these two right? Who knows? All right. So which is good because it just means less filler pieces I'm gonna have to make. This trim's mounted, that trim's mounted, all that trim back there is mounted, everything's in. I'm gonna go ahead and put in, the next step is gonna be putting in the 2 legs. Let me take you off here and give you a look at how I'm putting in the legs. All right, so what I did was I built a box that goes around the end. So they got screws that go into the wood, and then I got these that go up to the top because they're washed and I don't want to crush it, and also because they're the right length. Then I took down here and just put these regular ones. They're ugly, but there's gonna be trim that goes in the front of this, so that you're not gonna see it. But that's how I'm boxing these in and how I'm getting them into or mounted onto the to the top. I know I could just, you know, screw them in this way, right, diagonally, and go in there. But I like this a little bit better. I think it gives me a little bit more positive. And if I ever decide that I want to take this top off, that'll be relatively easy to do. But you can see where I've screwed quite a few in there. But yeah, it's all mounted up. And it's relatively flat. So, all right, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna put these other 2 legs in. And once we get these other 2 legs in, guys, I'm gonna put on the last couple pieces of trim, and then maybe start trying to build the filler pieces. Looks like I got enough time maybe before we live stream tonight. And then this weekend later on, I don't know if that's gonna make it in the video or not, but so this weekend later on, we're gonna go get some more trim pine because I ran out, and we're going to trim up the legs there, there, there. And we're also going to trim the other bench, because you remember there's one more bench that goes in here. This isn't it. There's one more piece that's going to go, it's a stand-up bench that goes from here over to that corner. This thing's still in here. So we still got a ways to go, guys, but we're getting closer. It actually doesn't look too bad. I mean, that ugly stuff around the corner, I don't know how much of that we're going to see, to be dead honest with you. But hey, man, this is really, I like the contrast of the colors. It's going to be neat when it's done. All right, guys, I'll see you in a little bit. All right, guys, so let's take a look around here. We are at a point where the benches are physically mounted. All right. These legs are going to be getting trim pieces, which is basically the same as this trim, only vertical. They're going to be coming down there, 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 over there, and over there. But that's the bench in its entirety. There's been some new mistakes. You know, I don't know what to say except for that haste makes waste. For instance, like a very silly thing is I put bracing underneath of this bench, as you remember. Well, when I went and put bracing underneath this bench, I didn't cut the 2x4s in 1-inch sections. I instead just ripped it in half. I just forgot. So then when I mounted the trim, I put it flush to the bracing like I did on the other. And as you can see, I have much less of a gap, or much less of a ledge to work with. I think it's going to be fine. I think I'm still going to get good epoxy fill. But the problem is that this now has a gap. Where before, if you take this over to this side, where I did things correctly, it lines up close to flush, much closer. Oh well. I've got gaps in trim boards because I've got 2 different levels of things that I'm screwing to. This back piece here, for some reason, ended up being a little higher than I wanted it to be. Like I said, there's mistakes all in this, guys. But this is, to be perfectly honest with you, to this point, this is the best that I think I could do given the tools I had and the attention that I was willing to pay. I've learned some things. I think I've got it a little bit better now. I think I could do this all over again faster and easier. I wouldn't. I still think buying like the butcher blocks and things like that would be a heck of a lot easier because they're going to be flatter and they're going to be easier to work with. But all in all, guys, like I say, I'm really kind of happy with it. Once I get the trim boards down, which are they're right there, this bench is coming out. So this bench will be out of here this weekend. Buddy of mine let me borrow a heat gun because mine's over at my dad's like everything else. Here's where that decal is going to go. It's going to go right here on that bench. This cabinet, I think we've already talked about, still needs to be sanded and primed, and it's going to be hung. I've got some other plans for other things moving forward, but you know, I think this is kind of the big point. I think this is kind of the big hurdle moment, or I think this is the kind of the pinnacle moment where I've got it mounted. But I'm happy. I mean, I'm sore at the mistakes I made, but I'm happy with it. Hopefully, it's not too offensive, especially you woodworkers. I'm sure it is, but for me, it's not too bad. I also intended, and I don't know why this didn't work out. This bench was supposed to be 4 inches higher than this bench, so this was supposed to meet perfectly, but it doesn't. There's like a 1/2 inch gap. I don't know why. I just don't know how that happened. You know, I guess that old adage, you know, measure twice, cut once. I guess, I don't know. I measure 100,000 times and shit still doesn't line up. But anyway, all right, guys. I think I'm gonna let you go. The next video will be finishing up. I'll be doing the legs and the leg trim and stuff like that, and doing the epoxy top. But until then, stay safe, have fun. I'll see you when I see you. Laters.